Hello and welcome to another Marketplace video here on CX Today. I am joined by Jennifer Murphy, CMO of Five9. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello, I am good, thank you, David. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. So we're going to be talking about the CX industry, but in particular, generative AI. It seems to be just about everywhere right now. Jennifer, let's get into that conversation. Let's start with, what is generative AI and why should customers care?
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. You can't really go anywhere without hearing about generative AI, and most of the time, people end up talking about GPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, Chat GPT, Bard, etc. I mean, I think generative AI brings one of the most important technological leaps in recent times, especially when it comes to the opportunities for customer service, and it has the potential to really break, transform and break through some of the boundaries that really we've had when it comes to providing that excellent customer service. So generative AI at its core really refers to a type of AI that is designed to create or generate new content. That can be images, music, speech. It's text. It's trained on large data sets. And then they use statistical models to essentially generate new examples that match the patterns and characteristics of the data set. So the interesting thing is that generative AI, not does it just generate to start with, but it learns as well. Just like, machine learning before it. But I think this leap with large language models is really interesting and has some really good power.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a fascinating time, and of course, this technology has the potential to really change the face of customer experience. I mean, let's get into some of those
Mm-hmm.
use cases. What are you seeing today in the market in terms of use cases, and how easy is it to deploy AI tools like ChatGPT into your business?
Yeah, well, I think the key thing on the use cases and how to deploy it is the practicality of it. Because when you first start to play with something like a Chat GPT, you're like, oh wow, like it can generate text and it can learn and it can give me, advice and it can give me lists of things. So I think when you first start to apply it, it's really great. It has massive potential and power. I think customers are now looking for, well, how do I make it practical? How do I make it personalized to me and to my data set and to my organization? So our engineering teams have been playing with GPT for quite some time now, back to the earlier versions before ChatGPT came out. And I think there are a couple of core use cases. One, for example, is around knowledge management, right? Getting instant, easy access to knowledge and information. The other, for example, is transcription. So we just launched at Five9, we launched our Agent Assist 2.0 technology, and it uses LLM in order to be able to do transcriptions and summarizations of the call. And the beauty is not just the accuracy of the transcription, but the speed at which it can be done. It is incredible. So, for example, Five9 AI Summaries leverages GPT-3, and that's the same large language model that powers ChatGPT to auto summarize the call transcripts in seconds, and then you can publish them to the Five9 data lake or you can publish them to the CRM. And there's huge potential, I think, of different places we can take generative AI and large language models. We've been looking at everything, as I mentioned, knowledge management, summaries, transcription, quality management. I think that the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I completely agree. And some of the use cases and tools you mentioned there, it seems like generative AI is going to allow us to be in potentially multiple meetings at once, and to catch up with those meetings quickly and efficiently. Which is it's going to be a bit of a sea change. So you mentioned data sets in there. Of course, generative AI,
Yep.
just because everyone has access to it, doesn't necessarily level the playing field, does it? I mean, what does this mean for the data sets that businesses can use to feed generative AI in the future?
Yeah. I mean, that's really important. Like with AI, any type of AI before it, data, 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 most important thing. So for businesses that really want to use generative AI, the quality and the size of the data set used to feed that model is crucial. The larger and more diverse the data set, the better the generative AI model will be at creating new high quality content. right? So that's really key. As I mentioned before, it learns. So businesses need to ensure that the data set that they use is representative of the type of content that they want the generative AI to create. So for example, if a business wants to generate an AI model that can understand how their customers interact with their business, then that data set should be the mining of the transcripts of previous interactions. And this will give the AI the proper understanding of how to best deal with the ongoing interactions with customers when required. So it can learn, it can understand. That could be anything from understanding what's the most common response to a question, what's the tone, what's the level of detail. So I think there is definitely a high dependence on high quality data, and the better the data set, the more the generative AI will be able to learn, to understand, and provide responses which are more personalized to your particular business.
So yeah, I mean, a lot about what we've been talking today has been centered around the contact center place. Obviously, Five9's speciality, but I'm interested where else you may be seeing those use cases, outside of that, but where it's still having impact on customer experience.
Yeah, so I think, I mentioned it before, quality management. Now, quality management, you can argue still within the contact center, but you could also look at quality management and call analytics as being a function that maybe the marketing team might use, or the support team, or the sales team. So I think that whole area of quality management is undergoing a significant disruption, and the use of LLM and large language models simplifies many of the routine quality management functions that we've seen in place before. So, you can also look at another great use case is post-call quality management. So that's being disrupted by more real-time agent assist type technologies that can resolve problems before they escalate. And again, LLM, generative AI, those can be used within the agent assist world and the broader quality management. So I think there's a ton of different areas where it can be used. And I think it's also not just about how do we use generative AI, but how do we think of the contact center as not being just the traditional contact center, right? The agents. How can other departments get involved, like marketing, like sales, like support, or even, for example, IT service management? Using assistive technology in the IT service management world when you're trying to troubleshoot tickets or incidents that are coming in. That's another great place where generative AI has huge power and possibility.
Great. So, I mean, from an ethical standpoint, we've obviously in the mainstream media, we've seen lots of headlines. Obviously, the likes of Elon Musk have called for sort of a pause on development in the AI space because it is moving so quickly. But I mean, what do we have as an industry? Do we have some learnings to do around the ethics around all of this?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a topic with AI in general for so long. And actually, if you look on OpenAI's website, they have got a ton of different research papers and information that look at all of these different elements. And I think it's great, actually, that they, as a provider, are thinking about it as well. And that makes it, for vendors like us, Five9, who are building on top of OpenAI, that sort of gives us some reassurances. But I think definitely a major ethical concern is transparency. Right? Customers have the right to know when they're interacting with a generative AI system, and they should be informed about how their data is being used, how it's being protected. And I think businesses do have a responsibility to ensure that the generative AI that they use is reliable, it's accurate, and it's safe for customers. And that goes back to that data set question before. The other piece is privacy. Right? Generative AI algorithms rely on large amounts of data to learn and improve. But that data sometimes can include personal information about customers, and especially in the contact center world, contact center leaders are going to need to ensure that they're protecting customer privacy and they're only using data in ways that are consistent with the expectations and preferences that their customers have outlined to them. So I think contact center leaders need to get together, for example, with their security teams, with their legal teams, and they need to start to be having these conversations and prioritize things like ethics, transparency, privacy, as they're thinking about how do we develop and how do we deploy generative AI technologies.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it. It is moving at an incredible pace. This market. I mean, what do you see? How generative AI is going to be impacting the CX space, particularly over the next sort of 12 to 24 months? What are you thinking about? What do you see coming down the line?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the most amazing thing, actually, if you think about it, is, you know, these models have been out there for a while. You know, we're currently on what, GPT-4. There were lots of prior versions before that. But, you know, with the innovation that ChatGPT did a great thing because it showed everybody what the potential power of these technologies could be. And I think that was just a great use case and a great learning for everyone. So I think over the next 12 to 24 months, I think we're just going to see continued growth and adoption of AI powered CX tools and technologies. I think people are going to start to think about what are those practical use cases? Where can they apply it? I hope that we will see continued development in the policies, the legal, the privacy that surrounds this whole world. But I think, you know, I think it's going to spur on increased use of chatbots, more personalized experience, and definitely a greater focus on ethics and transparency. So I don't think there's any stopping. You mentioned before, you know, people are sort of calling, should we pause? I read an article the other day that said, hey, maybe we do just stop and we just learn. But I think we have to keep going and we have to learn as we go.
Yeah, the feels like the genie's out of the bottle, as it were, and there's no going back.
Yeah, there's no stopping it now. There's no stopping it now.
Fantastic. Well, Jennifer, I think that's a great place to end today's discussion. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on CX Today. If you want to find out more about customer experience or generative AI, make sure you have a look around the CX Today website at cxtoday.com. That's it from me. See you next time.